game. So one down, three more to go, football Rob. Last night we had the Jets taking on Houston, and people around here were certainly not necessarily interested in the first teamers for the Jets, but they were curious to see how Greg McElroy would perform. And was he when he wasn't getting knocked down by Houston? Yeah, it wasn't a bad performance. 23 of 39, 208 yards, one touchdown. And the best part, no interceptions. Plus, he rushed four times for 24 yards. So not a bad pro debut for Greg McElroy.
Yeah, I definitely agree, Johnny. I think that if he continues to perform the same way that he did last night, if he does that for the next three preseason games, I think that you can pretty much shoe him in for the number 2 quarterback spot because, let's face it, Mark Brunell isn't getting older. I mean, he's not getting any younger, rather. And you're looking at Mark Sanchez, it's pretty much his team. So, you're looking at Greg McElroy. I think he can entrench himself as the number 2 quarterback on the team if he could just keep it up.
As far as all the performances from the quarterbacks that got a lot of the attention, the rookies, whether we're talking about Cameron Newton with Carolina, Jake Locker from Washington, who's now with the Tennessee Titans. You can also throw Christian Ponder in that mix from Florida State, who's now with Minnesota. I really felt that Jake Locker probably performed the best of the rookies. Your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. Jake Locker made me look bad with his with his debut and that broken play touchdown that he had. He definitely looked a lot better than what I expected to see out of him, especially with the abbreviated training camps and no OTAs to go with. And also, I really liked what I saw. Some flashes I saw out of Ryan Mallett, the quarterback for the New England Patriots. He definitely looked comfortable in there, and a few plays that I seen him competing in, he definitely looked like he's got the NFL arm strength that could blow defenses out of the water.
Tim Tebow with Denver, from my standpoint, did nothing to knock Kyle Orton out of that starting job with Denver. Your reflections?
Yeah, Tim Tebow definitely struggled. There was one play where he should have ran out of bounds. It was right before the half, and he would have had a good play if he just ran out of bounds, but then he reversed field, and it really looked like the guy didn't know what he was doing out there. So he definitely showed his lack of experience on certain plays out there, but then there were some other plays where he looked great. He threw a 40-yard bomb earlier in the first half. So it was a mixed review, a mixed bag, and that's kind of what I would expect out of a guy like Tim Tebow.
Once again, we're visiting with Robert Brewer, Football Rob, with NFLDraftBible.com. The Tennessee Titans and Chris Johnson still have not been able to work out terms. The outstanding running back for the Titans. Johnson is looking not only to be the highest paid running back in NFL history, but he wants to be paid somewhere in between that and just under the elite quarterbacks like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. So, which means he's probably looking for somewhere in the neighborhood of $13 to $14 million annually, with about $30 million of that guaranteed over that first 3 years. So, I guess the question comes down to, for a running back, is it worth it to the Titans or actually any team to pay that kind of money for a running back, knowing the pounding and the abuse that these guys go through week in and week out?
Well, you got to look at it this way, and this is the way I'm perceiving it, Johnny, is that last year he played nice with the Titans. He said, all right, I'm not going to get my mega deal right after my 2,000-yard season. So he got a little bit of a pay raise, and it was about $500,000 of a pay raise that he got last year. And he was, he didn't hold out for the long-term deal. He didn't make a whole lot of complaining. But now, after another season where he had at least 1,300 yards and he was the leading receiver on the team in terms of receptions, you got to pay the guy. I mean, he is your team. And if you're the Tennessee Titans and you don't have Chris Johnson, you can pretty much kiss your playoff hopes goodbye. And, I mean, he's got to hold out. And he has all the leverage right now because this is only his third year in the league. This will be his fourth year coming up. So, I mean, he's already had a 2,000-yard season. He's never had a season where he's had less than 40 receptions. You got to open up the vault and pay the guy.
And then finally, Robert Brewer, looking at the New Orleans Saints. In the running game, they like to do things by committee, and it looks like Mark Ingram, so far, if just using the one preseason game, that he's going to fit nicely in that situation. Had a nice touchdown run. So with Ingram and Sproles and Pierre Thomas, I think that they've got a nice combo there working to add to their offensive mix.
Oh, absolutely. They're going to be really tough to stop, as they are every single season with Drew Brees, and he pretty much, he cherry picks every different receiver that you could think of, from Lance Moore to Devery Henderson to Robert Meacham. I mean, he has so many weapons to choose from, and there's not one guy that gets the ball a lot more than the others. And of course, Marcus Colston is a top guy as well. So you got those kinds of receivers. You got the running backs you just mentioned. I think that they're really not going to miss a beat. They're not going to miss Reggie Bush a whole heck of a lot. I think Reggie Bush is going to miss he's going to miss the Saints a lot more than the Saints are going to miss him.
I mean, right now they have Ingram listed as the number one running back, with Thomas and then followed by Sproles. Do you think that's the way the rotation will work early on, or do you see some changes there?
Sean Payton is really hard to figure out, and he could pretty much – he goes on hot streaks in terms of being a play caller. He can have one running back in there. He can have Sproles in there 1 minute. He can have Mark Ingram in there on the next series, and then Pierre Thomas can come out of nowhere, and then some other stretches where maybe one of those three guys doesn't get to see action in an entire game. So it's really hard to figure out where he's going to go with that. I would assume that all three guys are going to have at least 500 to 700 yards apiece, and receiving wise, I think each guy will have probably 20 to 40 receptions this season. But fantasy football wise, it would be really hard to pick which guy's going to be the man in New Orleans in terms of their running game.
Before we let you go, Football Rob, for those that want to keep up with all your coverage of the NFL, what's the best thing for them to do?
They can just log on to NFLDraftBible.com. We have all the latest wheelings and dealings and all the new depth charts coming out there. NFLDraftBible.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/NFLDraftBible.
Always a pleasure, young man. Have a great night. Look forward to talking to you soon.
All right. Thanks, Johnny.
Thank you. Football Rob, Robert Brewer with NFLDraftBible.com, giving us a little NFL.